Hey, hello. How are you guys all doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today is going to be interesting. We're meeting Christian Smits. Christian is one of the people behind a platform called Pulse, a DeFi platform with the potential to really elevate the DeFi experience on Cardano. Because what they're doing is they're emulating Pendle, which is like a DeFi monster that lives on Ethereum. So grab yourself a coffee and get comfortable. Before you do, remember to subscribe, as it really helps the program, the channel. And if you want to take your support even further, please delegate to Stakeholder Media. There are now two, one that lives on Cardano and one on Apex Fusion, which is also the sponsor of this program. Hello, Christian Smits, all the way from where you located?
I'm not from Mexico. I live in Mexico.
Okay, but you're originally from the Netherlands, right?
Originally from the Netherlands, yes.
Okay, I just saw you a couple of days ago. This is welcome, by the way, to the very first short episode of Powered by Cardano, where we try and introduce projects and builders to the community. I saw you only a couple of days ago on Twitter for some reason, and you work on a project called Pulse Pendle on Cardano. So what is it, Pulse or Pendle or both?
No, well, Pendle is our big example. So Pendle is yield trading on Ethereum. How does yield trading work? You take a yield-bearing asset. A typical example for us on Cardano would be staked ADA, and the platform basically allows you to separate the staking rewards from the underlying ADA, and you can sell it. You can sell it via, well, not via Pendle, that doesn't exist there, but you will be able to sell it via Pulse. So we're bringing Pendle to Cardano, and it will be named Pulse. That's the name.
Right. So is how you create Pulse. Again, let me just read the description of Pulse. Took notes from Twitter. So again, because people that are not familiar with it, it says Pulse is an open source protocol that trades future yields from yield-bearing assets. All right. So I guess this is all DeFi related. And for people that don't know anything about DeFi, let's try and talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old and just give me like a basic explanation.
Yeah, DeFi, decentralized finance. So we're still kind of in an island, right? In a crypto island, not really connected to the outside world. So it's difficult for us to offer traditional finance services, right? So we have decentralized finance services. It's something else. And it's really all about speculating on different tokens, on different things that are already available in the crypto ecosystem in different ways, right? So the most basic thing is just a DEX, where you buy and hold a token. That's the most simple form of DeFi, I think. And we've had that now for a few years on Cardano. And another thing that you can do is maybe you can trade synthetics, things that are pegged to something else in the outside world. But in the end, it's still located inside the ecosystem, right? The money never really leaves Cardano. So that's something else that we also have in Cardano. Another thing is collateralized loans, which you can use to go short on certain assets. So that's another form of DeFi. Again, speculating on assets going up or down without necessarily holding the asset itself. And then, we think that Pulse is another layer, is another very interesting layer, where you start speculating on future yield-bearing assets. So it might sound a bit complex to somebody who isn't interacted with DeFi before, but it does work, right? We know it works because of Pendle on Ethereum. They're absolutely huge. How much they've grown. And Cardano is smaller in Ethereum, but if you even compare it in relative size, Pulse has a serious opportunity here.
This is actually, I was going to get to this question because since Pendle is coming from Ethereum, two questions. So first of all, so if you look at the DeFi space on Ethereum and Pendle as being part of it, how important is Pendle on Ethereum?
Well, with respect to the entire ecosystem of Ethereum, maybe not as important as Uniswap, for example, but still a TVL of $7 billion, roughly equivalent value, which is, I think, it's significant.
Okay.
And then
Yes.
they have their own token, and that's worth. It has a market cap of around 1 billion, I think. So it's big.
Okay, well, that makes that makes it about almost equivalent to the current total market cap of Cardano. So it gives you a pretty good idea of that it's significant. All right, you can say that.
Yeah.
And then I guess because you're looking at this being Pendle being on Ethereum, and now you're turning it into Pulse on Cardano. So how difficult is it to translate from one to the other? Is it like a matter of just taking one program language and then doing the exact copy into another program language on or system on Cardano, or are there things that need to be modified?
Things need to be modified. I think
I can't
the
hear
big
you.
difference is
Okay.
big difference is going from EVM Solidity contracts to UTXO model. It's not difficult though. Like, I mean, for us, it's not difficult. For me, it's really not difficult. I have now got some years of experience with the UTXO model, but it's really about understanding at its core how Pendle works and some of the mathematics behind it. That's also quite important, and translating that into UTXO validators, and building transactions around that. In Cardano, you tend to separate the logic into the validation logic and then the transaction building logic. It tends to be separate, or it is separate. And in Ethereum, it's not, right? You just you send state changes directly to the blockchain, and you pay gas fees, right? So and the more difficult it is to compute the state change, the more gas fee you pay. In Cardano, it works differently. You validate state changes, or better said, you validate state, and you go from state A to state B to state C, and so on. And between that, the state changes themselves are the transactions. So you build the transactions,
All right.
and if they're
So in a sense, it's not like you have to reinvent the wheel, but you're just making a different wheel.
Yeah, no,
Way of looking at it.
it's basically the same. Just you can do everything you can do with in EVM. You can do in Cardano. You can do everything. So it's basic. Yeah. It's
All
just a
right.
different model.
How long have you and your team been working on Pulse, and where are you now with it?
So we started researching it in September this year, not too long ago. Now building basically since the beginning of this month. Like seriously getting into it, right?
I mean, I'm not a technical builder myself, but it sounds incredibly fast to create any kind of project. And because I've read already that you've announced the date of the public testnet.
Yep. We will launch testnet the 30th of October. All our energy is focused on that. Yeah, it's fast, but we are a motivated team. Not a very big team. We're about 5 people who work on this almost full time, and we are extremely motivated to get this off the ground. So that helps to make things.
I understand that you're bringing something new to Cardano, but you and I just briefly spoke last night in preparation for this interview, and you also told me that having Pulse on Cardano is also beneficial to already existing projects on Cardano. Why is that?
Well, existing projects or many existing projects, they have yield-bearing assets. They already provide yield-bearing tokens. For example, I think the biggest example, maybe outside of staked ADA, is our MinSwap LP token. So if you provide liquidity to MinSwap, you earn rewards. You earn rewards from the DEX fees, right? So those LP tokens are inherently yield bearing, that means that you can trade a yield, you can sell off the yield. So that's amazing. You can provide liquidity, and you can immediately sell that yield for a fixed amount of money beforehand, and you already have that money right now instead of waiting for the yield to accrue over a period of time. So that's of course not an application that's relevant for everybody. Again, like many users of Cardano aren't really interacting with DeFi here, but for DeFi users, I think it's a very interesting additional layer to what already exists. So MintSwap is an example. There are other examples, typically also the same concept where you provide liquidity and you earn rewards based on the liquidity you are providing. So similar things can be done with Strike. Similar things can be done with Surf, a number of other protocols. It's just an extra layer, and I think it's beneficial. One example I would like to mention now, which I think is actually interesting to people who haven't interacted with DeFi in Cardano, is that if you see on Twitter or on social media somebody claiming, I can earn 15% APY staking some token or doing something on DeFi, well, with Pulse, you will be able to prove it. Either you do what that person is doing and you sell the yield immediately, and you see, the money is there, like somebody's willing to pay for that yield already. It's true what they're saying. Or you try and sell it on Pulse and the money's not there. You don't get anything in return for the yield. Well, that means it's not true, right? So you can prove with Pulse such claims being made on social media, either by selling it, by selling the yield, or just by looking at the prices on Pulse. Right? You go to the Pulse website and you see, the yield price is actually much, much, much lower. Yeah, what they're saying is not true. So I think that is actually an interesting application for somebody who hasn't yet interacted with DeFi on Cardano.
It seems, from what you explained to me, it seems, as a matter of fact, very important also because obviously DeFi and other ecosystems like Ethereum was already more developed, and Cardano is also trying to attract their attention. So obviously if they used to have certain services provided to them on Ethereum and then they don't find them on Cardano, then it would be a disappointment. So I think this is really important for the completion and bringing Cardano DeFi experience up to a higher level, right? Yeah.
Also for that, it helps. So in the beginning, people outside were complaining, there are no DEXs. Okay, now then we have DEXs. Yep. There are no synthetics. We have synthetics. Bring it on. We will have all these tools. They will come. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
When once Pulse is completed, is there anything else that you feel that it might be missing from DeFi on Cardano if you compare it to other ecosystems like Ethereum?
Missing for me personally, not as an Ethereum user. I would like to see funds succeed. I think examples of those are PBG and Metera. Full disclaimer: I have been involved in those projects. Right, I've worked on those projects. So I would like those funds to succeed, which basically will be able to aggregate the APYs of different tokens in the Cardano ecosystem and outside. Right, they will be able to combine things, bundle things, resell them as funds, and I think that will be an amazing product for somebody who really doesn't want to be active at all. They just say, look, I trust somebody. Some manager, some fund manager who actively manages this fund, right? Who manages the contract funds, and I just buy that token, right? It wraps everything. So that would be an interesting next step, I think.
Since you're going at the speed of light, when is mainnet?
Okay, so step by step, the testnet date has been announced. That's the 30th of October. Mainnet. I'm gonna make a safe announcement now, at least before the end of the year. Probably sooner.
Well, that's amazing, and it's definitely something I think that the entire DeFi community on Cardano and beyond will be looking forward to impatiently. Last question: will you be at the summit, the Cardano Foundation summit, the Cardano Summit in Berlin in November?
Yes, I'm going to Berlin. Yes. Yeah, I will be there.
All right. So then, if anybody is watching this, then make sure to look for Pulse and Christian in November, and then you can approach him yourself and find out all about this amazing new project. Christian, thank you very, very much for being the very first guest on the newly rebranded Powered by Cardano podcast, and wish you all the best with the project.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alfred.
Bye.
Bye. See you.